Welcome to a new episode of MF'ing Block Podcast. Sitting here with Andrew. So your restaurant is Good Plates Eatery, right?
It is indeed.
And thanks for being on.
Yeah, absolutely. Thanks for having me. Excited.
I've had a couple people tell me that we were probably going to get along. Ashley was one of them.
Oh, yeah.
And it was funny because when we contacted one another, you were like, "Oh yeah, my wife's good friends with Ashley," and Ashley's who hit me up and was like, "You guys are probably gonna get along well." So, how long have you been in the bar restaurant industry? Because you have a background in like Mount Adams area.
Yeah, Mount Adams a lot for sure. It's in downtown. If you started at the very beginning, I was 15 when I started working at McDonald's.
Okay.
And pretty much been in the industry since then.
How long were you at McDonald's?
2 years.
Okay.
A little over 2 years. I actually really liked it.
Longer than most.
Yeah, this was 2003, 2004, I guess. I was making $8 an hour.
Yeah.
Got a good amount of hours a week. I was still in school.
2 years in at McDonald's, you'd feel like you'd be a manager, right?
I went through the management program.
Okay.
Yeah, I did that when I was, I guess almost 17, and completed it with the exact the thought of this will look good on a resume more so than can't wait to manage McDonald's. But it was. It's a great training program, so kind of took advantage of that. But yeah, I was making, I think minimum wage at the time was $5.05. So
Nice.
So I was happy with it, and it was a bunch of people from school that worked there. So I was like, I'll get a job here, whatever. Never a million years expecting it to last this long in the industry. But
What makes you want to keep working in the industry? Is there a hospitality aspect to it?
For sure. I love creating the experience. This is the first time in a while that I've been.
You're like the producer.
Yeah.
It's like the producer in music. You know what I mean?
Yeah, absolutely. And that's the part I enjoy. I would no way consider myself a chef. I just like creating food, and being able to serve it to people. And that's how after the McDonald's part, there was a restaurant opening up. I grew up in Anderson, on Beachmont, and it was called Square Bubble. And it was basically same type of thing where guy was looking for people, so a bunch of us got a job in the kitchen, and that place was open for probably about 3 years, and worked there all 3 years, and that's where I really learned the kitchen aspect of it, and learning that kind of part, systems, and then got into bar backing and realized that front of house was a lot more fun. So, and then kind of went from there with the bartending and serving part of it, and then eventually managing and doing different stuff on the restaurant side of it.
So what was your last job before this place opened?
I was the managing partner at Chapter up in Mount Adams, and I was up there for 4.5 years, I guess. Sure, yeah, just over 4 years, I think it was. We went in. A friend of mine, Brandon, and I went in as kind of partners with it. For people that don't know, the Mount Adams area was a huge entertainment bar district area, and really kind of started falling off just as the banks opened and QCR picked back up, and
just more options,
more
higher end options,
and there wasn't. And then a lot of it too was the Clifton area got so much better, U Square, Xavier area started picking back up some, so that hurt for sure too. So we went in there to kind of work on rejuvenating the place and just them needing someone to run it. So we went in as partners running that, and him and I did that for about 2 years. Then he moved on to different things, and then just kept up with it. Created a brunch program, redid the menu a few times. Just basically took it wasn't mine, but took it on as it was, just building out new bars, doing everything pretty much.
Trying to keep up with whatever trends are happening.
Yeah, different trends, just trying to. It ended up being, the bar side of it kind of went away as just Mount Adams went down, but we always kept up with private events. We were doing 200 events a year
That's a lot.
of 25 or more people.
That's a lot.
Yeah, it was, and that was kind of part of the hospital, like where the hospitality aspect comes in of just like always wanting, like those people chose you to come in and like spend their money and have a place like hosted. It was always like that was always our focus,
Yeah.
just making sure that those people were happy.
So when that all came to an end, or whenever you decided to go your own way, like what made you want to open Good Plates Eatery, and on top of it, in the middle of a pandemic? Or actually, let's separate the pandemic because that's a loaded fucking question.
So yeah,
Well, like Good Plates, like how did this idea come about?
so I was still at the time. It was it March 15th or whatever it was when they basically went to carry out only for bars and restaurants. I was still a part of chapter.
Okay.
And talked to the owners and kind of was like, well, I don't know what you guys want to do. Like we didn't have a huge like our food was really good. Like I was really proud of the food we did, but we didn't do a ton of food sales. So I was like, do we want to run just carry out? Like, does that really make sense? And kind of just decided not to. But prior to that, I had already kind of been looking for my own place.
Yeah.
It was just at a time that it was something that I was working really hard to do this, but it wasn't mine.
It seems really similar to the journey that a lot of tattoo artists go through. Like they work and help build places up,
Yeah.
and then eventually, and my friend Will, who I'll have on an episode, he actually just opened a tattoo shop down the street from your restaurant.
Oh yeah.
Freedom Tattoo Parlor.
Yeah.
That's my buddy Will.
Okay, nice.
But
Yeah,
it's along the same lines.
for sure. Yeah, and that's
Has he been in?
yeah.
Will
Will
Webb?
yeah.
Yeah. That's my boy.
So I'd already kind of been working in I had put in a request on whatever the website is, Biz by Sell, whatever it is, for some other random place, and the guy that contacted me was to say like, hey, I'm representing the seller, was Darren, the guy that owns Schlanser, who's been a friend of mine for 15 years. And he was like, and this was probably November of last year, and he was kind of like just sending me places here and there. And then when he decided that he was going to retire and be done, he was basically like, do you want this place? And I was like, absolutely. Like, I've always loved, like, Cilantro was always one of my favorite restaurants in general. And then, but this location is, I mean, we have 2,000 cars a day that come up the road and see us. Like,
sometimes they used to drive into the place next door.
Just driving to places.
But I was told by my wife that this was a bit of a surprise to your wife.
It was, yeah. So the day that Cilantro's last day and my wife's birthday were
like,
both,
it sounds like this just kind of happened.
It did, yeah, for sure. Like, it was. I mean, his last day was January 31st, and he asked me maybe January like 27th.
Wow.
And then I asked her on her birthday, January 31st, what she thought of the idea, and she was kind of like, "Well, let's do it, I guess." Like, sweet. And I mean, the only thing we didn't have any money, we didn't have a plan.
Just like all the shit you need.
Everything you need. So we so I let Darren know. I was like, hey man, I was like, we're in. Like, we'll get it figured out somehow. So like pretty much immediately like went to the landlord, put together a business plan in like 6 hours overnight. I did have a general idea of like what I wanted. Like, I had been thinking about it, but put together like financial packet and everything, and went to the landlord and was like looking to take this over. And he goes, well, we got a lot of people that are looking at it. And I was like, oh, okay. And but eventually he was on board with it. And then like 4 days before everything shut down, I had given Darren a deposit. As we kind of were still working out the rest of the details, trying to figure out different things. And And then, so that was a Wednesday, and then everything got shut down Sunday. So I was like, well, no one's going to give me a loan now. Like,
It's like your whole plan is blooming while this pandemic is starting to bloom.
Yeah, exactly. It's like we were already like pretty far into it, like wanting to do it, and then everything happened, and I was like, there was a solid, I mean, probably a month where I still continued to think about things and like how we wanted to do them, but with the realistic outlook that it wasn't going to happen.
Mm-hmm.
Like, what bank is going to want to give someone money for a restaurant when restaurants aren't open?
Yeah. And who knows how long they're going to be closed?
Yeah, there was so much unknown. So I was like, all right, like whatever. And I was like, I'll just get my like. I wasn't worried about the deposit part of it. I was like, I'll get that back when you find someone else for it.
Yeah.
I'm like, whatever, we'll figure out something else. But at the same time, no one was really looking to lease a restaurant space when restaurants weren't open. So we didn't really have a whole lot of like competition, like trying to take it from us. And then maybe like the last week of April, my phone rang and it was like, hey, it's Corey or whoever his name was from Kemba Credit Union. He goes, just let you know your loan processed through and you're good to go. And I'm like, huh? Like, serious? And it's like, because it was just I didn't meet him. Like, it was prime pandemic. So it was like, you couldn't go into any offices. Everything was over the phone.
I had even stopped by, so I have a stupid situation with my car and the loan for it and everything. Needless to say, I go to the bank to make my car payment.
Yeah.
But at the beginning of this, like, you get there and I would call them and they would come out.
Yeah.
And like I would give them like the payment slip and the check, and I'm like, here you go.
Yeah, and that's like, and he was like, he's like, honestly, he goes, I had forgotten about it. I didn't think it was going to happen. Like we don't typically do handshake deals on large amounts of money. And I was like, suckers, like, good luck getting this back. But, yeah, went through and, I mean, had the money a couple of days later and was able to, like, pretty much move in. Like, that was the last thing. Like, and we had we were still, like, we were pretty much committed to it even without that. But that definitely helped. Definitely that helped relieve some of the stress.
Was there anything that you wish you would have known before you started this? But I mean, being in the industry, you already kind of knew a lot of what to expect. I'm assuming, but but now you're at a different level of what you were at before, as far as the operating side, right?
Yeah, yeah, more or less. I mean, I'm doing honestly probably doing less than I was doing at Chapter, just because my time is so consumed with the kitchen right now.
Yeah.
But at the same time, we only have 10 employees. Like, we're not slammed with gills every day. So there's not as much as like I'm doing in like physical wise as I know I will be. But like the paperwork side of it, I'm actually probably doing less. But just honestly, the worst part of everything has been trying to get the liquor license.
Yeah.
And I don't even know if I could do anything different, but if I could, I would. Like, I mean, we signed the lease. We were in here May 8th. I think I sent out all the paperwork for the liquor license like May 11th. Because I've renewed plenty of them. Like, I've been involved in that part of it.
Yeah.
I know it takes a while to kind of get going. I mean, we still don't have it. And it's December 15th.
And there's no way to like check the progression of that.
There is. So we finally had the state came down and did their inspection like the last week of November, and the lady I talked to then was like, "Oh, I just came across my desk November 16th. That must have been when they keyed it in." I'm like, just 6 months later, like it's cool, I guess.
And that could, and it could be months after that before it's approved.
Yeah. Whatever. So now, then I went to the city. The city has X amount of days, and they actually came through the other day, but they still have another thing to do, I guess. So I'm hoping by the end of this month, end of the year, that it's pretty much set. And we're only doing a beer and wine license anyway. So I don't want to be a bar. I don't want to deal with that, especially being down in Clifton.
But you'd like to serve a drink with
yeah, absolutely. So like and that's what's kind of like the frustrating part of it. Is like they like come in and they kind of look around and they're like, anything else? I'm like, nope. Like, they're like, what are you gonna be selling? I'm like, just cans of beer. Like, and then eventually canned cocktails when the wine license becomes available.
Yeah, these canned wines are a big thing.
Yeah, so yeah, we'll do yeah, definitely the canned beer, canned cocktails, and then would you buy those with having the wine license, and then yeah, and then probably just 1 or 2 cans of wine just to have them, but they're they're definitely pricey.
Yeah, they are.
So it's like I don't know how many $9 cans of wine I'm gonna be selling in Clifton, but we'll see.
So what? I mean, this is kind of in part with the last question, but is there any advice that you would give for that young kid that is working at McDonald's that actually cares about the industry he's working in and wants to take it further?
I think the biggest thing is always just keep learning. Like always be studying what's coming next. And that's how I was when I was younger in the industry was when the craft beer boom hit, like started with that, and then honestly, I didn't keep up as well as I should have, like on the bourbon side of it.
Yeah.
And then especially with the food part, I mean, not having the full kitchen experience is what a lot of people do that open restaurants and like are like the chef or like
Yeah.
running the kitchen. But I've always kept up on just different skill videos or stuff like that. Just one because I enjoy it. Like it's something that I've always enjoyed.
Are there like definite trends as far as like what people are ordering? Uh, maybe like by the season or just trends that pick up.
Yeah,
Like, is it easy? Like, is it easy? And it's just because I'm not paying any attention to it. But is it easy to pick up on trends as far as like maybe the way just presentation or whatever it is?
Yeah, I think the biggest thing for us opening at these was we got a ton of people asking about vegetarian and vegan options,
Mhm.
and I would say that the way of trends, like in that sense, like it's a lot easier to follow like how people are eating more so than what they're eating. But the vegetarian part, like my first vision for the place was more or less just sandwiches, having like 8 or 9 sandwiches on the menu and just kind of being able to pump those out with a couple appetizers and stuff.
Yeah,
And then my brother Brian, who runs everything in the kitchen with me, is pretty health conscious and into that side of it. He's like, "What do you think about doing quinoa bowls too?" And I was like, "Cool, let's do it." Like,
there's been a hit for you because I feel like
they have,
because
like,
you post them a lot.
yeah,
They get posted on your, but I feel like that would be because a lot of people are ordering.
yeah. It's definitely a niche part of it, but at the same time, I don't think we have a lot of our like someone that's coming in to order a meatball hoagie that has a friend that doesn't eat heavy or doesn't eat those kind of things. Like, but they see them come in and get a quinoa bowl with vegetables on it. Like, it definitely helps. Like we see a ton of tickets that come back that are from one side of the menu and the other, like
Yeah.
types of food. So I mean, me personally, I never would have thought I'm going to do quinoa bowls with Brussels sprouts and mushrooms.
Well, you think quinoa, like I mean, as far as throwing vegetables and whatever kind of seasonings and whatever, maybe if you do a quinoa bowl with some meat or whatever it is that you do, like all those things will add flavor. But like when you think quinoa, you don't think flavor.
Yeah, for sure. That's where they all. It's really just that base, and then we do obviously season the quinoa, and then
And the quinoa is high in protein too, so that's a higher in protein. I guess,
for
grain.
what it is,
Yeah.
for sure. And that helps. And it's like we did a fundraiser event a couple weeks ago with the UC Dietitian Club, which they probably wouldn't have done if we just had meatball hoagies and burgers. Like,
Oh, absolutely.
so it definitely is something that helps push things out. And then also with when Cilantro was open, it was a ton of vegetarian options,
Mhm.
and I think a lot of people expected because the place was going in there that it was going to be somewhat similar. And I didn't want to base anything off that, but it's definitely helped carrying that over.
Yeah.
That like people that just stop to look at the menu just because they enjoy going to Cilantro to see what we have and come in and see those things.
What's the four most important ingredients you have in the kitchen back there?
Foremost.
You can throw an honorable mention on there if needed.
um, guess I gotta go quinoa with one. I guess not number one, but one of them. Just because that is the basis so much of what we do.
Mm-hmm.
Um, I'll say chorizo. Um, our meatballs. I would say probably 90% of our menu is scratch made,
Nice.
and our meatballs are something that one of the first things where I was like, I want a really good meatball hoagie. Like I love meatball hoagies. Like you really can't get one anywhere outside of just like your chain, like sandwich places.
We all know that Subway's meatball thing is not. It is not
Yeah,
very
and
good.
I don't mind a good meatball hoagie from Subway, but one thing we did with it is we mixed chorizo in with the beef
Nice.
and a bunch of other different stuff. And
It's like chili. When you make chili, if you're not mixing a hamburger with, if you're not mixing beef with sausage, you're really screwing yourself
Yeah.
on
So-
what could be there.
and that's I mean that was one of the things that I was like I want this to be good. Like that is that is my number one item that I want people to like come here and be like, wow, that was the best meatball hoagie I've ever had.
Yeah, it's like you don't want a Philly cheesesteak on your menu if it's not banging.
Yeah. It like I thought about when we first got here, I was like, I'm just gonna go up and down the street and do like Monday cheesesteak day, Tuesday gyro day, and just like do all those and like I don't know if they make them better, but just like our own twist on them.
Yeah.
Like I don't want to make people mad. Like thinking we're like trying to.
So what's your favorite dish on the menu? Is it going to be that meatball?
Probably a meatball or the adobo braised brisket is pretty killer.
I'm going to have to try that.
Yeah, that's we literally just take a brisket and season it. Usually sits overnight, kind of like that dry rub, and then gets braised with the adobo peppers and a bunch of different seasonings and red wine vinegar and stuff, and cooks for about 7 hours. So literally just like pull it up with tongs and it just falls apart. And we all our bread 16 bricks, which I would say is probably the third ingredient back there.
So I used to work on the Cincinnati dinner train, and
Nice.
Connie, who actually works at 16 Bricks, she would work because the dinner train only ran on Saturday nights.
Yeah.
So she would come. She was working on the train with us.
Oh, nice.
So I got to know her, and then and my friend is the chef on the dinner train. So he would always get a bunch of bags of bread from her. So there was like I'd go party at his house after we'd get off the train, and after a 12-hour day on the train, you're just like, I just want to eat some bread, get drunk.
Yeah, that's kind of going into it. I didn't put a lot of thought into the breads, and I knew I thought I wanted to do something local.
Was it weird to you how important where you got the bread from was?
A little bit. Like I looked at a few other bakeries, and Christina from 16 Bricks was one of the first people I met with, and she brought all these samples up, and I was like, wow, this is all really fucking good bread. Like, and for whatever reason, I kind of shied away from it, thinking from a cost wise that it just wasn't going to be able to fit with our price point that we were trying to hit with being in the middle of Clifton. And then I kind of did just some comparison just to if you get it through a food supplier and get a case of buns, there wasn't any difference.
Yeah.
So I was like, well, why wouldn't I just
get the better bread?
Yeah, why would I get the better bread? It's not going to cost. And that's probably one of the big comments we get on the food. Outside of the flavor part of it is wow, the bread it was on was awesome.
Yeah.
And so I would definitely say that's up there with as an ingredient per se.
There's definitely a distinct difference from mass produced bread product versus what all the great restaurants in Cincinnati are buying bread from 16 Bricks. That's just it is what it is.
I'll see sandwiches and it's on 16 brick sourdough. I'm like, oh, that's what we use. That's exactly like something we make. But at the same time, it's it's cool that they have such a reach within that all these different awesome restaurants that are using it. And there was a few others we looked at, and honestly, it was just they were so quick with coming to meet that I was like, cool, let's do this and see how it goes.
So what are obviously you want to be successful here with Good Plates, but outside of necessarily just being successful? Are there any goals, like as far as like the community around here? Because I mean, the community around here is tight knit for sure.
Yeah, absolutely.
And I feel like in the Clifton area, to be successful, you kind of have to be accepted by the community.
Yeah.
Because they can very quickly just be like, nope.
Yeah, for sure. Yeah, I mean, part of like the name Good Plates itself was 5 minutes of Jamie and I, my wife, sitting on the couch, like spitballing ideas back and forth. And I was like, all I want is the word eatery in the name. I was like, I don't really care what it's called. Like, I want to like it, obviously, but I just want eatery. Like, that's the kind of place I want it to be. And I don't remember who said Good Plates, but I was like, I like that. Like, kind of flows. I Googled it. There's not a single other place in the country called Good Plates, eatery or not. So I'm like, awesome. Like,
that helps. That helps.
I was like, I don't want that. Like, I don't.
It was like when I started this podcast. Like I searched.
Oh, yeah.
And surprisingly, there was no podcast called MF and Block. So I was like, how do you not? The name alone is going to make somebody check it out.
Yeah, exactly. And it's great. Like when that's like when she said Good Plates, and I was like, cool. Like I like that. Like searching it. As soon as I saw there wasn't another one, I'm like, perfect. Like, and then it also works out. Our twins' names are Gibson and Posey, and so it just was a happy accident that worked out.
Yeah.
So part of that with that, the good part is like we want to do good. We handed out, we made up meals for Thanksgiving and handed out.
Yeah, you guys have donated a good amount of food, right?
Yeah, we probably did. I went out and bought just 3 giant turkey breasts, potatoes. We did macaroni and cheese, green beans, and basically just kind of put it out in the world. Like, you just need a meal, just come on in. Like, no questions asked. Like, whether it was you can't travel home because you're trying to stay safe, like you're a student that's not going home, like, and you don't want to eat pizza on Thanksgiving, like just come in, grab a box, like, and we ended up making, I think, right about 50 of them. And we're gonna try to continue that every year. We're gonna do it again for Christmas this year. And then having that slowly evolve, like it's hard right now because it's just basically me, her, my brother, and then our staff too, obviously. But like trying to like put those types of things in motion, like makes it tough just on top of just the everyday, just grind and work. But being able just to help out the community in that sense was one thing. Like pretty much from the beginning, like we had talked about the Thanksgiving thing, probably in June.
Yeah.
So I was glad we were able to make that happen.
What I always feel like too, like when you just look back, like the places that open and they're closed within a few years, or like they're not really remembered among the community.
Yeah.
And then like you just have these places that give back to the community, and those are the places like even if it's a good 5 to 10 year run, like even like those places that gave back, like people talk about it forever. It's like Baba Boudin's that was right next door to you. I mean, there is a good chunk of people here in Cincinnati that will continually talk about that place forever.
Yeah, and that's, I would love, to eventually, like, this is our life. Like, this is our plan right now. I don't want to work in the kitchen every day for the next 40 years, but, like, if this place is still here in 20 years, like, that's the plan. Like, and then adding more restaurants as we go.
Or even a different idea, like still your thing, but like a different theme or
yeah, for sure. I don't foresee us doing another one of these, like calling somewhere Good Plates, like, and having it somewhere else.
If the demand were there, I could see it, but then you also have to like look into demographics and where that demand's coming from.
Yeah, if we did it somewhere else, like it would be, like I'm talking with people, like we'd like another campus area, like whether it was like Miami or like up in Columbus, like somewhere that it's just a completely different market.
Oxford would be fun.
Yeah, Oxford would be fun. Like that, I think it's close enough that it's still manageable to kind of do both. Mm-hmm. Like both areas, whatever the.
Well, and so to be honest, the idea of this, it fits in with what happens here in Clifton.
Yeah,
and it would fit right in with what goes on out there too.
And honestly, if in 2 years, if there's another like kind of storefront that opens up. Like I would love to have another place in Clifton, just to kind of continue building just everything in the area and seeing the place that we first started in just continue to grow. And we live in Northside, so we're 5 minutes down the road. And
when you're seeing a lot of growth there in Northside too, for sure. And then just throughout this whole like pandemic thing, just one little quick shout out to my boys down there at Northside Yacht Club.
Dude,
they have been the most creative throughout this whole COVID shit out of everybody that I've seen. Like,
and they've always like.
So they're doing a play on Sonic. I think they're doing it. It's either tonight or maybe.
Yeah, I saw a video for it. Yeah,
they're doing all this CBD infused shit in their shirt. They just clearly took a marker and wrote "Chronic" inside the Sonic logo. Like it's just like they're just, and I love how much they don't give a shit about anything too.
Yeah,
like they would push something to the point where someone sends them a cease and desist before they.
When they did the Arby's thing, that was great. Like, the creativity they have down there is awesome. Like, they do great things. Like, I want to say it was early in lockdown stages, and we got dinner from there, and we ever had the peanut butter tequila.
Yeah.
So I was like, I called and ordered, and I think I got a couple of like lavender lemonades, and I was like, okay, not realizing how they were serving the peanut butter tequila to go.
It was a big container.
I had 4 peanut butter tequila.
Oh shit!
And then like in our food, and then she goes, all right, like your total will be $212.50. I was like,
it's like a tub of peanut butter.
It is a tub. And I was like, how are the peanut butter tequilas come? Because it's a quart, and I'm like, oh cool, I just need one then. Like, and I mean, we probably should have grabbed 2 because we polished it off pretty quick. But yeah, I was like, I think we just need 1 quart. 1 quart will be fine.
So who's the 3 most influential people? Like either, I mean, we can go with in your life or just in this process or in the industry. Just to you.
That's a great question. The first one, there's a guy. His name is Mike, or is Mike. That owned the Square Bubble, the first restaurant I started at. Influential in the way that like kind of created my love for the industry and kind of showing how much, I mean, it was similar to us here where like he kind of put his life into it, and it was much more bar than it was restaurant, but we had really, really killer food. And he continued, even after that closed, he continued to be a good friend, and we worked together a couple other places after that. But he was at the time, I guess he would have been probably about the age I am now when I was at 34, and then was just an industry lifer, and just to kind of see him like working to figure it out, and just how hard he was into it. And then so I would say just like inspiration of just industry part, and then my wife for sure just having her blessing with everything. Like, I mean, she's at home from 8 a.m. to 7 p.m. with
Sometimes she's up at like 4 a.m. with one of them.
Yeah, exactly. So she's great about like letting me be able to get some rest, knowing that I'm going to be up here on my feet 13 hours a day, but at the same time being able to like do our social media and kind of have that back end support of it. Like, I mean, I know how to post on Instagram and do stuff, but at the same time, like the fact that she was able to build it up so quick and how much traction we get off of things and engagement has been awesome, and really been, especially in this time of, there's a lot of people out on the streets, obviously, but not as many, and being able to get those eyes on it. And then a third one, probably just terms of just working, would be my dad. He was always working that same kind of 12, 13-hour days. I mean, he still does it. He drives a truck.
My dad was a truck driver.
Oh, nice.
Yeah.
He's out the house at 5.
He ever do any over the road stuff?
He was over the road until I was in 6th grade. So yeah, I mean, he was gone 3 weeks, home a week, and then and then sold his truck, and has been driving local ever since.
So he was an owner operator.
Yeah.
Nice.
Yeah, he was. Yeah, I mean,
My dad did some over the road stuff, but it was just weird because it was at a stage in my life where like I probably kind of needed him there.
Yeah,
But like I got like birthday cards, like postcards sent from Florida or wherever.
that was. Yeah, I think it was. My brother's 4 years younger than me, so I think it was a lot tougher on him being away, just missing birthdays, missing all those kind of things.
Like they care, and that they're definitely supporting the family for sure.
Yeah.
But there's that time spent's a big thing.
Yeah, for sure. So I mean, and just to see him, I mean, I guess he just turned 61. So I mean, still just being up at 4:30, 5 in the morning every day. And
Coffee drinker.
Yeah.
Black.
Yeah, I think he recently switched to green tea.
Really?
Yeah.
The doctor tell him to do that?
I don't know. He mentioned it not too long ago, and I thought it was weird, but
that's a weird switch up.
I think he said he gets more energy in the morning from drinking tea rather than the coffee.
Well, apparently
it still has a good amount of caffeine in it.
Yeah.
But yeah, I would say, I mean, those having one industry person kind of influential in just how things kind of happen. And, I mean, I haven't talked to that guy in forever, but then the two family, just life influences for sure.
So you're married, I'm married, you have 2 kids, I have 2 kids, yours happen to be twins.
Yes, they are.
What's it like being a father to twins? Because like I know what my experience is with, and we talked a little bit right before this about how like I'm not doing double of the same thing.
Yeah.
But then after we talked a little bit, like, is it easier doing double of the same versus
I think
having multiple different things to do?
Yeah, I think because we had to develop such a routine right away. They were in the hospital. Gibson was in there for 20 days, and then Posey was in there for 22 days. And the hospital NICU unit was amazing, and they're so strict on their schedule.
Yeah.
So when we got them home, they were already pretty well conditioned on being in that schedule. We were still having to wake up and feed them every 3 hours, but they were sleeping pretty well. And when they were about 6 or 7 months, I guess, we bought this like sleep program thing and whatever, and like put it like to work. Like it was basically just following a PDF of like what to do.
Yeah.
And ever since then, they've more or less slept through the night every night.
I wish our daughter did that, but our son is like, he's dead like me. Like, I mean, soon as he and I are asleep, like you're not getting us up until we're ready.
That's how Posey is, our daughter.
But like our daughter, Millie, she's just up whenever she wants to be up.
Yeah, just the past couple of weeks. Thing like the weather change, like they just haven't been feeling great. But like Posey will go down, she goes down at 7, and I mean she's out, and she's had some breathing stuff just from being stuffed up. But she used to go down at 7, and then she's up about 6:30 and ready to go for the day.
I saw your wife's post about how different they are sleeping wise.
Oh yeah.
And it was just funny because so your son doesn't like anything, right? Like
No,
he doesn't want blankets or anything around him.
Curls into like little like gerbil ball.
And then she's wrapped up in all of her shit and his shit.
Yeah. Yeah. Like he'll start with stuff in his crib, and then it just ends up in hers. And she has my brother got these like stuffed animal rabbits for Christmas 2 years ago, I guess. And they're both Posies now. Like he just doesn't like stuff. He just doesn't care. Like that's how I kind of am in the sense. I like sleeping and being like curled up with a bunch of blankets and pillows and stuff.
Like I hate if like one of my toes is cold. Like,
that's how you.
Like I'm tucking that thing up under, and I drive my wife nuts because I will kick at the blanket all night until I get it wrapped right around my foot the right way. So like you're working a lot, like your father worked a lot. How do you find a balance between your work life, your dad life, and your husband life? Because that one-on-one time is important as well. So like, how do you find? There's clearly not enough hours in a day for you. So like, how do you find balance in that?
When we first were getting ready, when we were first going, in my mind, we were going to be open 7 days a week. Like, we need to like pay bills, get like food out the door. And I was like, we need to capitalize on as much time as we can. And Jamie was like, we can't do that. Like, you can't be open 7 days a week at the start, like knowing that you're going to be there every day. And I begrudgingly was like, fine, like we'll do Tuesday through Saturday.
Have you told her thanks yet?
Yeah, I think the first week I did. I think I told her, I'm like, would have been a terrible idea. Because come Saturday night, I'm dead. So having that Sunday Monday right now is awesome. And having the time, not doing bar hours, not being open till even 10 or 11.
Oh, yeah,
like closing at 8 is, I mean, home by 9 at the latest.
Yeah.
Like, I work Saturday night by myself and my dishwasher, and even like we do I don't want to say a more thorough clean, but we have more to do to end the week because we're closed for 2 days.
Yeah.
So even doing that by myself on Saturday, it was still 8:45 walking in the front door. So like that gives us another. We're pretty early to bed just because who knows when the babies are going to wake up. But I mean that still gives us, even if I'm getting home at 8:30, like a couple hours at the end of the night just to honestly just sit on the couch and relax. Like we're real into The Bachelorette right now. We're watching season 6 on Netflix, and it's just one of those things that we can just like relax and sit on the couch and talk, and like if we miss something on the TV, it's not that big of a deal.
Yeah.
But at the same time, like it gives us something funny to talk about.
Yeah, we watch The Office a lot in my house.
The Office is. I'm sad that it's leaving.
It got really bad after Michael Scott left.
I'm not a big.
Too many characters got very annoying after that. But they were all trying to fill in for what wasn't there, I think.
Yeah, I will say the more I watch 8 and 9, the more I enjoy them. But
like, there's a couple characters like I didn't like Dwight after Michael Scott was gone.
Yeah.
And this is a huge unpopular opinion of mine. Robert California was useless in that entire story. He just shows up, says the weirdest shit, and then disappears.
That I would say he was.
But a lot of people told me he's
the more I watch, the more I enjoy it. I really didn't.
I like him in other roles that he's played.
Yeah.
So what I want to say there is he nailed that role, but I don't like that role.
Yeah, I was that way with Will Ferrell. I'm not a huge Will Ferrell guy anyway, but like
I'm hit or miss on him. Like, some things are golden and some things aren't.
Yeah, what they did with him in The Office, that was not good.
So that last question kind of led into what I was going to ask next about just how you unwind, but more so like, and I mean, we don't get a lot of this as being dads and husbands and having a job or you or your business. But like when you get time for just yourself, I know that it's rare.
Yeah,
it's rare. But like, what do you? Like, what are you, a gamer? You like to go to the range and shoot a gun?
Probably a poker room.
Okay. Pete, you know what? Everybody was right. We would get along.
Obviously not so much. I don't think the poker room's even open right now. And ever since the babies, I think I've only been able to go down a couple of times. But at the time of when it was just kind of bartending and like that part of the industry, I was playing 40 hours a week. Like using that really it was a supplemental income, but I was making a lot more doing that than bartending.
Yeah.
And then kind of just, I mean, it's always been a part of my life. I mean, ever since like just playing online, growing up and everything. And it's definitely something I miss. But knowing that I don't have the time for it is knowing I wouldn't go down and play very well anyway. So I miss it, but at the same time, it's like I'm gonna go down and just be frustrated about how I'm playing anyway. So
just blow whatever you took.
Yeah, pretty much. Like not having like the patience to sit there. Like when I was playing, basically get off work at 9:30, get down to the casino at 10, play till 5 in the morning. Like knowing I was doing that 5 days a week, like I didn't want to have to go in and like feel like I had to play every hand.
Yeah.
As opposed to now when it's like you have 3 hours to get down there and play once every 6 months. It's like just not able to play the way I like to play.
Like I'll vouch for what you're saying because before I had a whole lot of shit going on, I made a lot of money at craps, and now I just walk into a casino. I don't even play like table games anymore. Like I'll just put 100 in a machine, like in a slot machine, right? I'll just put 100 and max bet $100 in just one spin. Like, oh fuck it, I lost.
That was one thing never got into the pit of table games.
Craps were my thing, but I got into it because I really didn't know anything about it at all. And then my buddy I went with, it was his game, and I just learned it from him. And then I had that like lucky first night, dude. Like I literally had $60 in my pocket, and I was like, whatever, I'll buy in. I left with like $4,000. So I was like, I think this is my game, guy.
That's quite the first night.
So without the restaurant industry and the bar industry and your wife and your beautiful kids, without all that, where would you have wound up? Still in the poker room?
Yeah, probably. Originally, I went to school to be a history teacher. And then did that for the first like year and a half, I guess. But I was slowly working my way further into the bar and restaurant industry, and I was like, oh, like this is pretty sweet. Like I'm enjoying this. Like, and switched my major, and then had a really bad car accident. I guess it would have been right after my freshman year, or like maybe in between a semester or something, and kind of just changed the course of like what I was doing.
Yeah.
Yeah, I guess it would have been right after my freshman year. So I still continued going to school after that a little bit, but really just started kind of focusing on working and eventually, and I wasn't like, I did well in school, but I never like enjoyed it.
Yeah.
So it's kind of like, oh, we'll just kind of just.
I never put myself 100% into it.
Yeah, I regret it for sure.
Like, how many times were you told you have so much potential? Have you been told that you're ornery and you have so much potential?
Yeah, high school always kind of just came easy, and where it was like, I just studied, just took the test, and did well enough that it was like cool, like kind of flew enough under the radar, and then. Once college started, I was like, this kind of sucks. Like,
it was so much different than high school.
Yeah, like, I'm just like, this is, and like, I'm having a lot more fun just staying out till 4 a.m. and like, eventually, like, after a while, like, showing up to class in like, the same clothes I was wearing the night before, I'm like, all right, maybe time to reevaluate this. So now I just pay $226 a month for that experience
for the rest of your life.
The rest of my life.
Yeah, I looked at my schooler, and like it got to a point where I was just like, look, because I wasn't paying it for the longest time,
and as well.
Then they finally they hit me up and they're like, yeah, like let's make a deal, and I was like, I'll send you, because I'm going to pay this for the rest of my life anyway. I'll give you $15 a month. And that's what we settled on, man. Like, I'm gonna pay it forever anyway. Like, what the hell does it matter? Like, who cares?
Yeah, I did the same thing where I had like, I was like, these are gonna go away eventually. I'm like, I'm just not gonna pay them.
My wife just paid hers off, and I'm like, how?
I gotta say, when I looked at mine fairly recently, I think I'm finally out of the interest payment part.
Nice.
I think I'm just in the principal, but that's
still a good space to be in now.
Still a good amount, but then with like, I haven't been paying them with the pandemic stuff going on and no interest occurring. I'm like, well, we'll go and hold off on that.
Absolutely.
So we'll see what happens with all those, with all these new tax plans coming and things that are going to get forgiven.
Oh. So what's your biggest mistake? Or biggest failure? What's your biggest failure? And what did you learn from it? Could be life, could be work related.
Biggest failure.
Or maybe you set yourself up too high and missed where you were aiming for?
I think my biggest failure would just be I've had a couple jobs throughout the years where it didn't it was done being the right fit for me, and I was instead of like kind of taking like I would give like a 2 weeks notice or whatever, but I would kind of just be like, all right, like I'm done, like I don't want to do this anymore, like I'm checked out, like here's a 2 weeks notice, but like I'm like if you don't need me for anything, like I'm just gonna be done now.
I've been really quick to do that,
and it's definitely things that I've looked back on, and I don't want to say I feel bad about because people like that I did it with like were assholes anyway, and I'd seen them fire enough people at a moment's notice, and I'm like, what? Give you some courtesy on it, but at the same time, it's like I don't really care. So I mean, I guess like you could kind of say it's like burning bridges, but at the same time, it's not a bridge I would go back over anyway.
Yeah.
So it's like,
because see, I've always told people I'm not a 2 week notice guy at all. Because I don't like if I'm done here, I don't plan on coming back.
yeah.
So like literally the day that I decide that I'm done, I kind of just go to my car and go home.
Yeah.
Like I've done it a lot.
Yeah, and I don't. Yeah, so I guess I would say I don't even know if that's a failure, but definitely would look back and maybe handle some of those things a little bit different. But
I wouldn't have yelled at as many people as I have.
That's a good one.
My friend Sean, he's the chef on the Cincinnati Dairy Train. So I've always said that I would hate to be my boss. I would hate to be my manager. And it's only because I question everything all the time. I think I have good ideas and people don't seem to want to listen. But like I also like there's plenty of time and I've learned it in my current job now. My GM's an awesome dude, and he's kind of forced me to learn a lot about myself, and I just wouldn't have been such a dick to so many people.
Yeah.
Because like my buddy Sean on the dinner train, like he's the first manager or boss that I've ever had that was able to like pull me back a little bit.
Yeah.
He looked at me one day and he's like, I really need you to shut the fuck up. And that's all I need. I needed someone to tell me that because nobody, and I don't know, like, because my wife tells me all the time, she's like, you're kind of intimidating. And I was like, I don't think I am.
Damien has told me the same exact thing before. Like, when we first met, we were, I was more or less just bartending, and she was serving at a place down in Northside. And she was like, I had multiple times that I just cashed out food and paid for it myself, so I didn't have to tell you I made a mistake because I didn't want to get yelled at. Like, I've never been like the yelling type like manager.
Yeah.
And like because you were just scary. Like, what?
Well, I've had other people tell me because I mean both my arms are pretty covered in tattoos, and like I'm over 6 feet tall, and I've got a wide frame.
Yeah.
And just that low voice. And like my wife's like, yeah, like you're intimidating. So I didn't. Now when I get angry, I can definitely see it.
For sure, yeah. And then I say those moments for me are pretty few and far between. But like I've had times that, whether it was warranted or not, that I've definitely like shouted at an employee or two. And typically it was like end of night, like 3 a.m, and everyone's probably had something to drink.
Oh yeah.
And it's kind of just like a brush off type thing, but never wake up the next day feeling great about it.
Most of my frustration whenever I've lashed out at anybody else was always I was more frustrated with myself than I am with them.
Absolutely.
And now that I'm frustrated, now I'm even more frustrated. Like now I'm even more frustrated at myself for being frustrated in the first place.
Exactly that same way. Like,
so if this was your podcast and you were over here and I was over there and you had this sweet fucking shirt on, would there have been anything you would have asked me that I didn't ask you? This is the first question that I've ever Googled. What should you ask your guest? And I figured I would throw it out there. But is there anything that you would have asked yourself that I didn't think of?
I don't think so, man. Like especially in the the sense of like kind of talking about the restaurant and stuff, like I think we covered a good amount of it. It's funny because I definitely overhired, as every restaurant does when you first open.
I have a confession about that. I think Jamie may have shared something about hiring kitchen help or cooks or something like that. I'm really fucking good at cooking. Not to toot my own horn.
Yeah.
I was this close to like, fuck it.
It would have been great to have someone like you back there with us, but then at the same time, things haven't been as busy as we were like. So it would have sucked been like.
Well, I work in the liquor industry, and we haven't stopped.
Oh,
so, I mean, if anything, we're doubling, tripling everything that's been happening. So it's.
Yeah, that was when we opened. Like I probably had like, I think I hired like 14 servers, and my plan was to just like pretty much run every day the same. So I was like, well, everything's kind of like everyone has class different days.
Yeah.
And probably overestimated how everything with the pandemic was going to play out, like thinking things were going to start to slow down as opposed to just quadruple. But one of the girls that is still here working for me, she was actually the first hire, and I always end interviews too, pretty much like, is there anything like, any questions you have? And she was like, why are you guys opening a restaurant in a pandemic?
In the interview.
Yeah. And basically just went through like the first part of our talk here. And she was, oh, like that's really cool. And like she's actually the one that drew all the snowflakes.
Okay.
On the windows and helped us on our website. Like we've got like super lucky with the staff that that got hired on. Everyone is just like really taken to the place, and it's
you're in a good area to find good people to fill those positions for sure.
Yeah, it was. Yeah, we had no shortage of like people applying or wanting to work. I still probably get 3 or 4 a week, and it's like I wish we were busy enough that we needed a staff of 20 up here and running around. And I know we'll get there as things kind of come back. I mean, right now carry out like delivery and stuff kills it.
Yeah.
But then not really having the liquor license yet. Just people just wanting to stay safe and not really eat out as much.
Let's hope the best for this vaccine, right?
Yeah, let's start giving to people today.
Yeah.
Yeah, hopefully that kind of just starts to just create that downward trend of getting things halfway back to normal. I mean, not necessarily just for the restaurant, just for everyday life.
Well, yeah. I mean, there's plenty of people who already struggle mentally that are probably having a horrible time, and if anybody's out of work and can't feed themselves or pay bills,
and it's stressful. Just on top of that stress, trying to deal with anything with the state. On like when everything first happened, and it was like, well, I don't have anywhere to work anymore, and just trying to figure out 6-hour waits for unemployment on the phone.
Yeah.
Just trying to do anything.
Molly, my wife got laid off because she does hair, so salon's closed. But so she got laid off, and then she went through this. I mean, it was like a 1.5-month period or so of not getting anything from unemployment, and the whole reason was she had applied or whatever, and then like called to do the first week of reporting or whatever the hell they have to do I was unemployed once, and I remember every week I had to call and basically claim that week or whatever. So she's going through all that, and but she keeps getting these emails back that says your social security number doesn't match your surname, which her surname had been legally changed to my last name, and it should all work because she has a social security card that has that number with that last name on it.
Oh yeah,
but it was just somewhere in the filing shit got messed up, and because they were so backed up, you couldn't fix anything, and then you could schedule them. You could schedule to have someone call you, but they never called you, and then it's just crazy.
I can't imagine how hard it was working within that program for those people, but it sucked.
Well, and they certainly were. I mean, you have to think too.
It went from however many claims a week, magnified times.
Their servers couldn't handle that. Yeah. They don't have enough employees to handle that. There's just no way.
Yeah, there was definitely no way. But it was just I just remember checking stuff every day because I was within Chapter. I was a 1099 employee,
Yeah.
So like I wasn't even sure. I was like, if I was going to be able to get any kind of unemployment. And luckily, they rolled out that program that you could. But it was the middle of May. I mean, we went almost 2 months without anything.
Yeah.
Just trying to like, all right, well, hope someone comes through eventually.
Yeah, we did. So like my wife she got unemployed, or she was laid off collecting unemployment, and then the bar I worked at the airport got shut down. So now instead of like 45 to 50 hours a week, I'm getting cut back to like 30 hours at our brick and mortar store where I'm not making tips. And then like immediately I lost 50% of what I made.
Yeah.
And then my wife is on unemployment. She was getting that $600 a week thing too,
Yeah,
which
yeah.
helped.
That was.
But
that was
we were just sitting there like, shit.
Yeah. And then what you were talking about with the mental health part of it, it's like we went. Where did we go? We went to Home Depot yesterday, I guess, with the babies. Like, I mean, they've been out of the house to go to the park and stuff. But like, we were taking them everywhere. Like,
Yeah.
and now it's like now they're finally able to walk and not have to like have the stroller and stuff. But like, there's nowhere to go with them.
Yeah.
Like, so I mean, but I'm glad they're young enough that just like running around with a crayon is like keeps them happy.
Oh,
So
absolutely.
like, I know it's tough on Jamie, just kind of more or less just being stuck at the house. It's like,
When she was a bit of a jet setter, she was going all over the
Yeah.
place. So
yeah, it's definitely slowed us down from. I mean, just even with the like without the babies, with the babies, it's just been basically 10 months of either being here or and that was what was great with this place was it gave us something to do.
yeah.
when we moved in when we took it over. I mean, we did everything ourselves in terms of like
I watched the whole process.
Oh,
Well,
did you?
I at least the process that unfolded on social media.
yeah, and that was more. Or
Because you
less.
guys like reupholstered everything.
Yeah, these are all reupholstered. Tables are were stained over. Her stepmom painted all the white. My dad and I did the tiling.
You guys have commissioned art on the wall there.
Yeah, yeah, those. I'm pointing at the camera. Yeah, those three, and then all of these are pieces through a gallery called the Veda Gallery.
Okay.
But yeah, those three are by this dude named Chad. I love that one in the middle.
Yeah.
And then he did that one and this one over here. And then this is by Donna. I'm not sure who she is. But
That's cool.
yeah, they hit us up about wanting to put stuff up, and
Well, you get wall decor, and then one of them could sell, and
oh yeah,
they could make money. You know what I mean? It's a win-win for everybody.
for sure. Yeah, it was like these this little gallery wall. We still have some to add to it, but those are all pieces that we just had at the house. We got a few more to get up, but yeah, it was a cool. I mean, we signed the lease May 8th, and we opened August 12th, so it was just over 3 months. And I think the second week, I said I wanted to open the week of August 10th. So I was pretty happy with the fact that that actually happened.
Oh yeah.
That usually doesn't happen. I mean, granted, we didn't have a whole lot to like come in and like we didn't do any construction, so we didn't have to go through any kind of permit process for that.
That makes it a lot easier.
So much easier. Like when I called, I was trying to like finalize the health inspection and stuff, and he was asking about the plumbers and all that stuff, and I was like, "Oh yeah, they all came out," and they hadn't. But then when I finally called like the different like places, they're like, "What, did you do anything?" I'm like, "No, we're just moving in, like literally just painting more or less." And they're like, "Oh, you're good then. You don't need to we don't need to come inspect anything." Sweet, like, but it worked out. I mean, we definitely got open, and doing it all by ourselves was cool. It was fun, and it's something that like
It makes it mean more. It makes it mean way
for
more.
sure. I mean, I walk in every day, and I'm like, yeah, like we have a restaurant, like, and it's a weird feeling to me because like with that chapter, like I worked. I don't want to say I'm working harder here, but like I felt the same there for the 4 years I was there. Of like taking everything like so seriously as it was mine. So that like with this, like it's almost like a continuation from it, to where like I don't know if it's fully hit like this is mine. Like
Yeah,
I don't have anyone that like if I like leave something out or if I forget something, like no one's gonna be like yell at me.
yeah.
Which no one did there either. But like
That's a good mindset to have,
it's
though,
just
because you never know when you'll be in a situation where it is your thing. Yeah.
yeah. Oh yeah, for sure.
So it's
Yeah,
always
I learned a ton. Like I've been within just like management of bars and restaurants for a long time, but never had like that kind of like standoff like ownership approach where it was just like, if you need us, let us know. And just just take over, like you're working with the accountant to handle all that side of it and just doing everything. And it definitely learned a lot. I don't think I would be in this position here without that 4 years there of just learning the things that I thought I knew, but didn't.
absolutely. Well, like I had a friend of mine. He worked at a liquor store, and then he left the liquor store to kind of do his own like whiskey blends and start his own distillery. And like he kind of told me, he was like, I didn't know. Like, did you know that there's a thing called business math? Totally different from regular math. And I was like, I don't even know. I don't even know what that is.
It makes me feel better too. Why?
But I was just like, dude, I don't have any. And then like he didn't have any. He didn't really have any experience with writing a business plan. And like I've written a business plan, but it was like half-assed, and like I really didn't know what I was doing. Like I didn't know what numbers I needed to even fake. You know, like I didn't know.
Yeah, when I when we first were trying to get a loan, I had the business plan I put together for the landlord just to kind of show that we were serious.
Yeah.
And which I mean, if like someone else would have like had a business plan they worked on for longer than 6 hours would have shown up, it probably would have made mine look silly. But they said no one else even came with a business plan, so it worked out.
Nice.
But yeah, like the numbers part of it, like I've always been pretty good with math and like especially like the different like just having Excel sheets set up for different things or whatever. And was able to put something together, but I'm like trying to like figure out how much you're gonna do the first year. It's I don't know, man. Like
You really don't know.
yeah,
How do you put a number
no
on it?
idea. Like and it's like well we're gonna have roughly 42 seats and like we average $10 checks, like I don't know, we do a turn and a half a day. Like, I don't know, we'll do like $900 a day, I guess. I'm like, that doesn't really come out to as much as I need. I guess we'll do 20 as many covers a day. I'm like, I don't know. And it's, and we're actually probably doing more per check wise than I anticipated. But what sucks is like this whole first probably year, like, I'm not going to be able to compare these numbers to anything.
Yeah.
And it's like, if I want to, like the day before Thanksgiving this week or this year sucked. It was probably our worst day of the 4 months. But it's like next year, it's like, well, I would close, but it's going to be a completely different time of like places being open and people being out. So it's like, I won't want to close. Like, I want to see how that day does.
Do you think any part of the pandemic will have a lasting effect in the part of companies kind of or businesses just closing when it benefits them?
I think so. I think people
because you'll see when days aren't important, and like I mean, how many office jobs will never go back to the office because they don't have to?
And yeah, absolutely.
You can do all of that at home. There's no reason.
Sucks for that in terms of the restaurant industry is
people coming out.
Is the people, yeah, like not necessarily
lunch, right?
Yeah, not necessarily where we're at, but
I mean the places downtown will feel it for sure.
Absolutely. Like I have friends that work all over, and just how much they talk about like just like a friend, my brother's friend serves lunch, and she was basically working 5 days a week doing lunch, and that was where they like were making their money.
Yeah.
And now it's like she hopes someone comes in before 1:30, and it's like, and that's I think going to be a long term effect of it is how people get shifted on how they work, and everything, and it's.
Well, like my buddy Andrew Gomez with Gomez.
Oh yeah.
Good friend of mine, and which reminds me, I have a bottle of bourbon in my basement. I need to get to him, but luckily his spot down in OTR is just the window, and it's not a.
Yeah.
I mean, he can get by a little bit easier without having to sit people down.
Yeah.
And I think his other location will be just fine.
Yeah, from what I've seen, I saw they did a great job with kind of getting their setup done. And funny story about Gomez is when he first started doing his salsa stuff, I was working at Longworks at the time, and we were the first place that he's like was selling his tacos out of.
Okay.
I guess that would have been in 2009,
That was early
probably
Yeah.
2010. And I always worked Tuesdays, Thursdays, Fridays, Saturdays. So Tuesday was always the best day. Just going to crush a bunch of tacos. Like it was like long before like the turtle and all that stuff. But yeah,
People fell in love with that turtle.
yeah,
They
good,
definitely
man.
fell in love with that
It's
thing.
really good. And it's awesome to see him doing so well now with that. And just having those locations and having that window, like I'm envious. Like I would love. I mean, I love the space we have here, but just having a small window place would be, especially up in Clifton, would be killer.
Well, it's just crazy too because you've had like pizza windows have been around forever, right?
Yeah.
Like it was Lucy Blue, one of them.
Yeah, say Lucy Blues. They'll say
Was that one in Mount Lookout? Or
Yeah,
they
that's-
had one in Mount
that's
Lookout.
Bubs now.
Okay,
Yeah, that's my buddy Mike. Yeah, they crush out the window.
like those, like you've had these pizza windows, and there's a couple spread out all over town,
Yeah,
but
yeah.
like you never.
So
It
you
wasn't
don't-
a taco window.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Well, and actually, what was cool is Zapata Cantina opened in Covington,
Mhm.
and I think they closed for the past couple weeks just because of Kentucky mandates and
Oh
restrictions.
yeah.
But they've got a to-go window at Zapata too, and Zapata,
That's right next to Braxton, right?
yeah, like
More or less.
around the corner, and I think it's just right around the corner from it
Okay.
because it's on the main strip there.
Yeah.
But it's have you been by Rich's proper? It's like a block and a half down.
Okay. Yeah. I know Covington, but at the same time, I don't.
But they're no, Zapata's awesome, man. They very authentic with a modern twist, and the mezcal and tequila selection is ridiculous. And I got schooled in mezcal there, so now I like that spirit. That's something. The mezcal is way better than tequila.
I would agree.
Far better.
I would agree on it.
Well, you've got a great place here, man, and I look forward to seeing this thing grow. That'll be awesome.
Me too, man. I hope it just. I mean, I know it will, and I look forward to it, and just hope it kind of comes along sooner rather than later.
Absolutely. Appreciate you being on.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
Thank you, man.
And we'll catch you guys later.
Thanks.